Good morning and welcome. My name is Jeff Madsen, and I serve as the area chair for Convene here in Northern Illinois. And if you are here today, you are here either as a Convene member, a friend of Convene, and we also want to welcome our friends from the National Christian Foundation. We've got about 25 of you here in the room. Happy to have you there with us today, as well some friends from our member companies, including Edge Electric and Woodland Windows and Doors. It is going to be a really, really good day. We are going to expose you to some great content from one of the world's leading thought experts on the customer experience. And I believe when you leave this room and go back to your workplace and your business today, you're going to be equipped to make some decisions on how you can better serve your customers than you already do. So buckle in, get ready. It's going to be an action-packed day. Because it is, we're not going to take a break. So just some housekeeping remarks. Take care of yourself and do what you need to do. So if you need to use the restroom, just kind of discreetly get up and make your way out the room. It's directly through the main foyer to your right. Help yourself. We've provided water and coffee for you in the back. So help yourself. And if you need to stand up and stretch, feel free to go ahead and do that too. So we're going to go straight through because David's got a lot of content to cover with you between now and 12 noon. So good to go on that front. All right, well, if you're here and you're new to this thing called Convene, you may not know exactly what Convene is, and we want to give you some context of why we're here and why we do this work together. So Convene, we are a trusted community of Christian business leaders who meet monthly in peer advisory teams to accelerate our results together and to advance impact. And we really believe strongly in this notion of community. So we know, based on our data, that the majority of business leaders, specifically Christian business leaders, operate today in isolation. 98% don't have a sounding board, don't have a peer advisory board where they can take issues and challenges of their business and get outside-in perspective. 98%. The Convene members that are here in this room today, we've got 7 Convene boards in the Chicagoland area, about 70 different member companies. Just raise your hand if you're one of those, our Convene members. They're the exception. So 2% of business owners choose to be in a peer advisory group like Convene because we believe that our businesses can get better, number one, in community, and that when we come together in community to talk about how we can honor and glorify God in what we do in our business. So we're focused here on 2 different things. The first is really business performance, and that's why the aspect of community is so important, and the second is on eternal impact. So when Christian leaders operate in isolation, they face great difficulties, strained relationships, and diminished impact. And that's why we believe that these peer advisory boards are so important. Our members tell us that the peer advisory board that they're on is the single best personal and business investment they make every month, and it's also the cheapest form of business consulting they get, because in one day, they get outside-in perspective from 12 different high-octane Christian business leaders on the opportunities and challenges they face. And so that's why the notion of community is so powerful for us, and it's working. 85% of our member companies outperform their industry peers as a result of them being on a Convene CEO peer advisory board. The other thing that we really believe in strongly is this notion of eternal impact. This and the quote I'm going to show you next, we really resonate with. This is from a Christian thought leader named Henry Blackaby. God is marshaling his people in the workplace as never before in history. God is up to something. The next spiritual awakening could take place in the marketplace. And then, of course, most of you will recognize the name Billy Graham. I believe one of the next greatest moves of God is going to be through believers in the marketplace. So in addition to business performance, we believe that this community is really powerful so that we can come together in community and talk about how we can grow in our leadership and our impact so that the businesses that we have the privilege of stewarding can honor and glorify God in all we do. And so that the people that we're privileged to lead can feel seen and heard and supported by us. And the example of Jesus is reflected in how we lead and nurture our employees, our customers, our clients, and our suppliers. And in that respect, 97% of our members and our member companies tell us that as a result of being on a Convene peer advisory board, it has transformed their life, their leadership, and their faith. And we're really, really proud of that. So that's a little bit about who Convene is and what we do. And we wouldn't be here today, and this session wouldn't be happening without strong partners who come alongside us and help us amplify the work we do and give us some unique value propositions to our members. And the first partner today is Helping Hands Charitable. So if you're in this room and you're in a business or you're in a company and you do not have a corporate assistance program, I encourage you to connect with Julian. Where's Julian? Raise your hand so everybody can see him. There he is at the back of the room. He's got a table right outside here in the foyer. Connect with him in the Helping Teams charitable organization. Helping Hands is a 501c3, and today we're talking about making things easy. They make it really easy for companies like you to create care programs for their people. And these corporate assistant programs, these are ready-to-go funds that are ready at any time, and they allow your employees to support one another during unexpected trials and hardships. It's simple, it's tax deductible, and it creates a culture in your business where the employees know that they're not alone because they're being supported by their coworkers and their colleagues. Just last year, Helping Hands partnered with more than 200 companies and helped provide $7.5 million to 7,000 employees and their families worldwide. Their impact is real, and it's something every business should consider. One of those businesses is in this room today. One of our business owners hired a refugee family and cared and nurtured for this refugee family and realized after a couple of months, hey, we need more support from our employees and our coworkers. We called Helping Hands, and within 48 hours, a corporate assistant program fund was established that people could give tax-free to help that family get an apartment, to pay for their groceries, to get English as a second language skills. So it's impacted families right here in our Convene community. So thank you to Julian and the team at Helping Hands for your generous support today. The other, our signature partner today is the National Christian Foundation, specifically the team right here in Chicago. So if you're here with the National Christian Foundation, please raise your hand so we can see you and welcome you. We are glad you're with us today, and the National Christian Foundation is an outstanding partner because one of the things we believe for our Convene members is the importance of profit. We talk about profit a lot in our peer advisory board meetings, but we don't talk about profit from the point of personal accumulation. It's not about how many boats you have or how many vacation homes you have. It's about how can you take that profit and reinvest it back in your business so you can grow thoughtfully, so you can care for your employees, and more importantly, so you can advance God's kingdom. And for that last reason, that's exactly why we like to be in partnership with the National Christian Foundation. They, too, are a 501c3. They've got more than 30 offices around the country that help foster generosity in more than 180 communities, including right here in Chicago. They, too, make it easy for you and me as a Christian business owner to maximize your giving potential for greater kingdom impact by inspiring you and I toward greater biblical generosity. NCF's mission is to walk alongside its givers with shared biblical values, innovative and charitable tax-efficient solutions, and highly personalized services. Highly personalized services. What am I missing? What? Oh, lower, I'm sorry. Highly personalized services so they can give more strategically and with greater purpose. What many people don't know is NCF is actually the 8th largest charity overall, and they're also the largest Christian charity in the world. Since 1982, they have distributed more than 21 billion, that's with a B, billion, in donor-advised grants to more than 90,000 different charities, including many right here in the greater Chicagoland area. So before we get to the main event, I've asked Paul Rigby of the National Christian Foundation to open up in prayer as we begin our speaker session today. So Paul.
Thank you, Jeff. Can you all hear me in the back? Okay. Would you join me in a word of prayer, please? Our gracious and heavenly Father, we're grateful for this beautiful day today and this amazing setting which reflect your creative power. We're also grateful for the opportunity to learn from our workshop leader, David, and from each other so we can be more effective business and ministry leaders. We ask to experience your presence during this time, along with your wisdom and discernment. And may our words and actions towards each other reflect your love and grace. Who knows? Who may need words of encouragement this morning? Heavenly Father, if there are any barriers, obstacles, worries, or distracting thoughts in our minds, please remove them and help us to remain fully present and focused on what you want us to learn today. And as we close this prayer, may you help us remember always what a privilege it is to pray in the powerful and loving name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you to NCF Chicago for your partnership. And so now let's get ready for the main event, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to David Avrin. Those of you that have been with Convene for a while, David's a friend of Convene. He's brought us a lot of thought leadership in this room right here over the years. And he is one of the most popular customer experience speakers and consultants in the world today. In fact, over the past 25 years, David has shared his insightful lessons on competitive advantage with leaders and teams from thousands of organizations in 28 different countries on 6 different continents, including recently in Singapore, Bangkok, Buenos Aires, London, Mumbai, Manila, Sydney, Barcelona, Abu Dhabi, Vienna, Johannesburg, and Dubai. So we welcome him here to Medina today. He is also the author of 7 books, including the acclaimed It's Not Who You Know, It's Who Knows You, Why Customers Leave and How to Win Them Back, and his newest customer experience book, which you are going to receive today thanks to the generosity of one of our Convene member companies we'll introduce you to later, is Ridiculously Easy to Do Business With, a practical guide to giving customers what they want and how and when they want it. So get ready to laugh and learn, and let's give a warm Convene welcome to David Avrin.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. We good for volume? Can you hear that okay? Good. It is, it's back to school time. Who are my parents? Okay, keep your hands up if you have kids in school now. Right? It's that time. It's the end of the summer. We think about back to school, back to learning. I see on social media all the pictures of the kids like standing on their front porch, first day, 6th grade, first day, whatever. And we try and collect all those pictures. So the other day I went and did one myself. First day of 56th grade. I guess I started at 4 years old. I'll be 62. But we're all learning. We're all still learning. That's why we get together to learn and share and grow our businesses. And I commend you for being here. As he said before, it's how many people are not a member of this, who don't have the benefit of this collaborative environment to try out issues. We go into a door, we go into a room, we close the door, we take off the mask, and we hash out our biggest challenges. Today, I want to challenge you a bit. I want to talk about how your customers and clients have changed, how we've all changed, because we're all customers as well, right? What's new in the drivers for why we do business the way we do? And so much has changed post-COVID, of course. And we'll talk about some of that. Sorry, I'm going to tell you, I have some sinus issues, but we're good to go. It's just some surgery ahead of my sinuses. The other thing I think about the end of the summer, growing up as a kid, August was always one of those times, it was sort of a tale of two cities, right? It was the best of times and it was the worst of times. It was the worst of times because we had to go back to school. It was great for our parents, but not for us, like, oh, back to school. But it was the best of times for when I grew up, and many of you I can see with some gray hairs in the room, because August was also a different time, because that's when the Sears Christmas wish book arrived for every household in America. And this was, for those of you who are younger, this was our Amazon. This was a massive catalog. This was a catalog that was, some years, 800 pages long. 100 pages of it were toys. And it would come every August, and I'm the second oldest of 6 kids. So we would fight over who had the wish book, and we would highlight things and we'd dog-ear the pages. We didn't use yellow sticky notes because those hadn't been invented yet. But this was like everything that was available in the world was in the wish book, right? You could get gardening supplies and school supplies and bikes, and well, there's one on here that's so, and lawn darts, remember jarts? Literally just metal tipped, heavy until kids are getting stabbed in the head. I mean, you think about the dangerous toys that we had. I mean, we talk about the metal slides that we all got scolded on, but jarts, those have been illegal for some time. But so many things, and the fashions, of course, were ridiculous. But what was interesting about the wish book was yes, I had clothes like that too. When we talk about sort of what's different than today, what was interesting was anything that you wanted, there were 2 things that are so markedly different than how business is done today. I'm going to do something here, if that's okay. I'm going to turn this around so I can use this as my own monitor, and without having to turn around and see. Oh, I was going to say, yeah, this was our Amazon. We actually have a new affliction. Have you heard about this? We talk about the Robert Kennedy's meeting is happening today on immunizations and all the healthcare. There's a new affliction. Okay, now we're not clicking at all. Hang on a second. Push everything back in. Make sure we're good to go. There we go. Called primnesia. Have you heard about this? It's when you order so much you can't remember what it is that you ordered. But here are the 2 things that were significantly different back then. Number 1 is you had to order from the Christmas catalog or the Montgomery Ward's catalog. You had to order by October 15th to guarantee Christmas delivery. Can you imagine waiting 2 months for something to arrive and then be happy when it did? Because that was part of it, right? We had to order by October 15th, and the second part was you had to pay for something when you bought it. It wasn't the instant gratification, so we would save up all year. Even the banks had what they called the Christmas savings account. Remember those, right? Or they would have layaway at the retailers. You put something saying, "Hold this for me because I'm going to buy it for Christmas." How incredibly different than our world is today. Almost anything that you can afford, you can have, in many cases, delivered same day. I live just south of Denver, Colorado. We have 3 major Amazon distribution warehouses within 30 miles of where I live. 80% of what we order, and we order a lot, arrives same day. It's ridiculous. When you think about the conveniences that we have, it's a great time to be a customer. It's a really, really tough time to be in business, because how do we compete against Amazon? I got to figure out, because I may have trouble with this if it's not working so fast. Today what we have is, and you'll hear this term a lot, is omni-channel. And omni-channel means basically however somebody wants to do business with you, how accommodating are we? How they want to connect and pay and resolve issues. Are we restrictive in that category? I get asked all the time, do you take Zelle? Do you take PayPal or Square or Cash App? And for me, I have a different, fairly simple business model. The answer is yes. I mean, my gosh, they're trying to pay me. The answer is yes. If you have young employees, if you have teenagers or kids in their 20s, we know they want to communicate differently. They want to pay differently. And especially for those long-standing businesses, and we look at how we do business, how we have traditionally done business, is if you're multi-generational, what we do works, right? We've vetted the processes, but your customers are changing. And the methodologies, it's not as much who we're going to buy from, it's what can we buy, and we can get almost anything. And it's not how, maybe today it's how fast, how convenient. So we're going to talk about sort of the changes that have occurred, because your customers, and we're all customers, we're all clients, we're all constituents, we're all patients. The choices we have are vast. Very seldom is somebody making a decision in a vacuum. They're not deciding to do business with you. They're saying we have a variety of choices. Who are we going to do business? And the drivers for those business decisions are changing significantly. 30 years ago, it was so much about our marketing and our messaging. Not unimportant, but it's less today about what we say about ourselves and very much about what others say about us. That social proof, we'll talk about that as well. As I have spoken to over 530 CEO groups, Convene and others as well, over the last 16, 17 years, I would always ask the question, why you? What do you think makes you stand out, stand apart from others who do what you do? And it's always some version of, it's our superior quality, commitment, caring, trust, it's about the people, all important. Here's what the research shows today. Your customers are prioritizing, no surprise, speed. Speed of response, speed of answer, speed of delivery, speed of issue resolution, simplicity of process, choices and options, and of course, convenience. Today, in many ways, convenient is better than better, especially when your customers assume a level of quality across the board for your competitors. We assume everybody's good. If you weren't good, you wouldn't survive. You would be outed very quickly on Yelp, TripAdvisor, Rotten Tomatoes, Glassdoor, whatever that might be. There's a level of quality, there's a level of parity that we've never seen before. And I will tell you the worst thing about your competitors in your marketplace, the worst thing is that most of your competitors are really, really nice people. We're all just trying to feed our families, friends. They're not the enemy. I mean, save for the political climate right now, but the people in the marketplace, everybody's working hard. Sometimes there's this false sense of superiority, and I say that in the way that a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs drink the Kool-Aid. You know, they're the ones who say, listen, our reputation speaks for itself. And I'm the one who says, you have to speak for yourself because your competitors aren't significantly underperforming. There's sort of this belief sometimes that the marketplace says, but to find out that we exist, right? We hear it all the time. Oh yeah, they're I'm trying to think how best to put this. That I don't want to belabor that point. Our competitors are good. What are the real criteria that people are using for that differentiation today? And I would submit, and I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to talk some of the latest research about how the experience that they have with you has become a primary driver. And to be clear, I don't talk about customer service. I think we've been talking about for 50 years, we know how to treat people, right? The experience is different. It's related, but the experience is from their perspective, right? How easy are you to work with? How frustrating is that process? Is it hard to reach a real person? The example I use is for those in financial services or in banking. There was a time when we would go to the bank on Friday and we would fill out the deposit slip and we would stand in line and we'd get to the front and they would ask us, so what are your plans for the weekend? Nobody's asking us anymore. I'll do events, most of the time it's an electronic transfer. Sometimes they hand me a check. I get in the back of the Uber on the way back to the airport. I sign it, I take a picture of it, and it's deposited. There is no customer service, but I have an experience, but it's a digital experience. So we think about omnichannel, about all the different ways that our customers are engaging with us, communicating with us, paying, choosing, following up, delivering whatever that might be. How friction-free is that? We're going to talk about simplicity of process. How do we help them get to what they want? We call businesses all the time, please listen closely, as our menu options have changed. And you're going to hear 9 things that have nothing to do with what you want. How hard is it to reach everybody? We're finding ourselves, our cherished customers and clients, we get them to our website, we get them on the phone, and then we frustrate them. And I'm going to ask you to hold a mirror up to your business. You are effective, you are efficient, you are compliant, but are you easy? Are you preferable to the other alternatives? When your customers are shouting into the phone, real person, agent. I think you said no, please explain. And one of the challenges right now we're seeing with BPOs, the business process outsourcing companies, the call centers and others as well, is that the employees of the call centers are taking a level of abuse like we have never seen. The calls I get from organizations who are struggling, there's always a high attrition rate, it's a tough job anyway. It's off the charts now, the mental health issues, because all they're dealing with is angry customers all day because it took so long to finally get to a real person that by the time they do, these poor people are just dealing with angry people all day. They start the conversation at 12. And I don't think the people responsible for these decisions are unintelligent, but sometimes it's important to take a step back. We saw the other day that Salesforce.com just laid off like 4,000 people. I saw a presentation, they said that one chatbot can replace 700 customer service workers. Very alluring for the bean counters in your organization. Apologies to the bean counters in the room. But we're in a time of tremendous convenience and choices that we've never seen, but at the same time, we're starting to see that resistance. So we're going to talk about AI. I'm going to give you some really good strategies. You've got a workshop or a worksheet in front of you. You don't need to look at it right now, that we're going to do that in a bit. I'm stalling just because I can't get the clicker to work. All right. Your customers have changed. We've all changed. How we expect to connect and communicate, and all of that has changed. All right, so let's talk about what's important to your customers and clients. We're all in some ways competing against Amazon or Uber. We talk about sort of the logistical side of it, and our customers and clients asking what's the status of something, and we don't know, or something's in the process. Well, Amazon knows. Uber knows. I can tell you exactly where Uber is in terms of visibility into the process. I can see where they are, I can see where they're turning, I see what time, and you say to yourself, we're not Uber, we're not Amazon, but we're comparing you against the last great experience that we had. So just being cognizant of where some of that impatience is coming from. Well, let me ask you the question. Anybody notice that your customers or clients are a little more impatient, a little more demanding, right? We're seeing it across the board, and this is what's driving it. So part of it is just having an understanding, a cognizance, a heart to understand where they're coming from, recognizing that it's not because they're jerks, and I'm trying to be more that person in my life as well. Somebody cuts you off in traffic as opposed to, your first inclination. Trying to be the person that says, I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know what they're in a hurry for. But the more we can be connected and cognizant of our customers and clients, not just what they need, what they're likely to buy, the demographics, the psychographics, but understand what's important to them from a service perspective, but also from a business perspective. We're all competing. And so what are the drivers? And we're going to talk specifically about that as well. Some of these things that, once again, the conveniences. I was in my hotel room last night, or yesterday afternoon, I got in, I took an Uber, I wasn't close to anything, and I just dialed up DoorDash, and they brought me food. It's driving a lot of those things as well. And then, of course, how we communicate. Zoom has been around, was around long before COVID, but now it is a legitimate option for how we're connecting and communicating. Are we giving people the choice for how they want to communicate? But then we're still seeing this as well, right? Oh, look at Tim. Tim's pretending to be on an island. That's so funny. It's not funny anymore, Tim. It's not funny. It's been 4 years. We're on Zoom calls sometimes, and you'll be with 2 or 3 other people, and somebody has their webcam off because they just got back to the gym. It's the same thing. It's like, come on, friends. This is not a novelty. Because I do work, and as he mentioned before, I've spoken to 28 countries around the world. I've got a 6-country European tour coming up in November. I'm back in Dubai in December. It's not geographic name dropping. I'm having conversations real time with my clients and prospects, different sides of the world. Some of my conversations, a lot of them at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, because I am ridiculously easy to do business with. But for my parents' generation, my parents have passed on, this is magic. This is magic. For me, it's Thursday, right? But once again, being cognizant of this, and part of it is holding that mirror up and saying, how do we do business? Think about the customer journey you have created. Here's how they learn about us. Here's how they reach out, converse, choose, customize, purchase, pay, whatever that might be. Think about that whole journey. How much of that in your business is the same as it was 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. But how much has changed since then in terms of our preferences and our expectations? You look at some of the businesses that have gone out of business, the Kodaks and things are pretty easy to understand because the technology changed, but that doesn't explain Bed Bath & Beyond. Somebody was on, and I know they were recently purchased by Marcus Lemonis. He's going to try and bring that back. But somebody was on TV, one of their PR people talked about that they had been down for a couple of quarters and that people were having a hard time finding what they wanted because there's supply chain issues. And I looked at my wife and I said, that's garbage. We're not finding what we want at Bed Bath & Beyond. We're not going to Bed Bath & Beyond because we found a different way to get what we got. Almost anything that goes out of business, we can lament the loss of Toys R Us or some of these. Anybody struggling to find toys? Anybody struggling? No, because they're replaced by something that was preferable. By some definition. It was more convenient, it was easier. It was the things that we do in the palm of our hands. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I'm trying to set the framework for what we're going to talk about what's driving the behaviors. It's not that customer loyalty is dead, it's harder to earn and it's harder to keep because it's becoming increasingly easy to leave you. And the choices that we have are by and large better in some ways. Once again, it's a great time to be a customer and it's a tough time to be in business. And then of course the tipping. As I travel overseas, not nearly as much an issue, but now we know we do counter service and they flip over the white screen, and I was at one and it started at 30%. And I'm like, I just served myself and I'm doing, and I tried, and I'm like, I'm not paying 30% for it, but I gave him 20 because I'm a good guy. But once again, it's the whole landscape of how we buy and how we expect to connect is different. Here's why this is important. Here's why this is more important than it's ever been. Because our customers and clients have a bullhorn that reaches around the world. By the way, I'm going to give you a QR code at the end. I'm going to send you all the slides. You're not going to be on a list, but you're welcome to take a picture of any slide that you want, but I'm going to send you all these as well. But it's more important because your customers have a bullhorn. We can reach around the world. We all grew up in business and everybody's heard some version of this. We used to call this guest relations philosophy. Everybody's heard this before. Here's how it goes. The average person with a positive experience tells 2 or 3 people, but somebody with a negative experience tells 10, or some version of that, right? We've all heard it. Friends, none of it's true anymore. Today we tell thousands. Today we tell millions. Today the ramifications of underperformance, you falling short, them being frustrated, the ramifications are profound. We can see it in social media and what's happening in politics, and somebody posts something and then they get flooded and they get fired. It's the same thing in business. Just drag a paying customer off your airplane. See if that spreads online. Because everything's being recorded from every angle. Just go on YouTube and type in angry customer. There are millions and millions. I tell my kids who are no longer kids, I say, be careful what you post online because it doesn't go away. I tell my kids, I say, you know the difference between love and the internet? I shouldn't have even gone here. I say the internet is forever. And it's a horribly cynical thing. Who would say something like that? The point I make is the things that you post, it doesn't go away. Can you imagine being a teenager today? I have such a heart for kids. Between my wife and I, we got 5 kids, grown and gone. Doesn't mean they're off the payroll, but at least they're out of the house. But let me put it this way. Growing up, we did stuff. There is no record of it. Can I have a hallelujah? Right? They don't have the permission to be stupid. We were stupid. We all did stupid things. Today, there's a permanence that's really tragic. And it's really affecting our kids in a big way. But it affects our businesses as well. So that's why this is so much more important as we take a step back, walk our customer's journey. Let's look for these points of friction. We're going to talk about what those are today. And but that social proof has become the primary driver. There was a very famous study some years back that said that there's a mistaken belief, follow me on this, a mistaken belief that everybody's looking to make the best decision possible, purchasing, hiring, contracting. The reality is most people are looking to avoid making a bad decision. It's not that we don't want to we all want to make a good decision. We just aren't always sure what that is. So we look at what's the safe choice. If we're looking for a financial planner, somebody who has gray hair or maybe no hair, you figure they've got more experience, it just makes us safer. The organization that has thousands of 5-star reviews is an easier choice. Where this manifests itself, you see this a lot on Amazon. You ever go to a page and you're buying something on Amazon and you look down below and there's rows of, that's part is the AI, is they'll suggest different things, but sometimes you'll also see the same item like 3 different times. If you look closely, it's a little bit of a different deal. Like sometimes, and they did some study, don't even quote me because my stats are wrong, but it's something along the lines of that people are willing to pay 20% more to get an item 1 day earlier, even if they didn't need it 1 day earlier, right? But the other thing is, if you have all these choices, you're not buying things with 3 stars. It's death on Amazon. Why? Because there's a lot of choices with 4 stars or 5 stars. You might go 4 stars if it's significantly less expensive, but nobody's going 3 stars. It's like on Google, you're not doing anything past the first page. That social proof is so important. How we communicate is different. That phone used to be a solid item, now it's everything. How many things has that replaced? The things that used to be on paper, we have access to the entire world. All right, let's have fun with this for a second.
Customer and client truth.
Keep that volume up. Yeah, it's a show that's sweeping the nation. We're going to tell the truth. We're going to call out the nonsense as to why our customers and clients hire us, choose us. Here's our place. I'm going to give you a prompt. You're going to shout out if it's truth or nonsense. If you're ready to play, say yes. Yes. All right, here we go. Number 1. Keep the volume up on this. Number 1, your customers are tired of talking to knowledgeable and helpful real people, and they prefer being redirected to chatbots and digital assistants to resolve their issues. Truth or nonsense? It's nonsense. It's not that there isn't a place for it. There is. It's getting better, but that's also basic. I'm going to talk a little bit about some research coming up a little bit, but we're seeing a lot of research. People prefer to talk to a real person rather than chat. We know that, but it goes deeper. All right, number 2. Can you go higher on the volume? Number 2, customers understand how busy you are, and they're happy to wait until the next business day for you to get back to them. Truth or nonsense? That's nonsense. It may sound reasonable to you, but how often do you, I'll give you an example. We moved recently, we downsized after the 5 kids are gone, but I turned on my sprinklers one spring, 3 of the sprinkler heads shooting straight up in the air. I said, I'm gonna fix it. I'm not gonna fix it. I went on Craigslist and I found a whole list of people who do sprinkler repair. Called the first one on the list, but I got a voicemail. Said, I'm out of the office, I'll be back later on this afternoon, get back to you. Did I leave a message, yes or no? No, I just called the next one because I can. Once again, that impatience is not because it's a character flaw, is that we know in many cases we don't have to. Number 3, many prospects have had a bad experience with a competitor and they'll do research online to see what others say about you, truth or nonsense. Absolutely. Everybody's looking you up. So cultivating, curating that online presence is very important. If there are negative comments, are you setting up Google News alerts so you know anytime somebody mentions you, your name, the name of your company, or even competitors, you need to be on top of all of that as well. Everybody's looking you up. Number 4, regardless of how or when your customers engage with you, they prefer an experience that's easy, consistent, and seamless. Pretty easy. Truth or nonsense? That's the truth. Part of that necessitates the policies and procedures that are consistent. One of the things we're doing, we're creating a whole certification model for Ridiculously Easy, and some of the things that we're evaluating, we're judging is, do you have a policy for first call issue resolution? Do you have a policy for on-time delivery or on-time service or what that might be? Is it haphazard or is it baked into your policies, into your cultures as well? Number 5. It doesn't bother customers when they see employees glued to their cell phones because they just assume the employee must be dealing with something important. Truth or nonsense? Once again, these are the hard things. These are the conversations that we have with our team. It's all part of the experience. What's it like to do business with you? What are things that we're frustrated by? Number 6, customers will assume that you offer high quality products and services, and they're going to focus instead on the speed, the responsiveness, the simplicity, and the convenience. I'll even give you the answer that you know what it is. It's the truth. This is when we talk about, we think our competitive advantage is our superior quality. You need to believe that. You need to not lose track of that or lose sight of all of that. But your customers are assuming everybody's good. Who's easier to do business with? Who's got an easy process? Are you making it difficult to find the price or whatever that might be? Number 7, a great customer experience doesn't really matter anyway today because AI and crypto are going to put us all out of business. Truth or nonsense? Utter nonsense. Just say.
Don't blame David, he's just a messenger, and he's not mansplaining.
Not mansplaining. Today's we want to be a magnet for our customers and clients. What's it like, once again, to do business with us? What are the things that are important? We're going to go through that. We hear a lot about people talk about how do we create that wow experience? I don't think most businesses lend themselves to a wow experience. I think the wow is sometimes that I can't believe you got back to me so fast. I can't believe how easy that process was. What does wow look like to them? We think wow is gee whiz technology, and it might be. But one of the natures of the Convene groups, and one of the reasons I love Convene, I love working with Convene groups and speaking for the groups, is the variety of businesses that are sometimes, in my mind, sometimes I'm the guy who goes, oh, I guess somebody does that. Right? I'm such a geek for business. I always ask people, say, what is Convene? I said, here's an example. Look in this room. Everything you see in this room, somebody makes that. The tablecloths, the floor coverings, the lighting, the AV equipment, and these are hardworking entrepreneurs. So wow looks different in a B2B environment. Sometimes B2B, B2C, what does wow really look like? And I think in many cases, our real goal is we don't want our customers to wonder, and we don't want them to worry. Come on. I may end up having to just go over there and hit the space bar. No worries. If they wonder on the front end, if once again, if you remember the book Harry Beckwith's Selling the Invisible, selling the promise of what we're going to do. If they have concern, if they don't know if we have the expertise or the experience or there's negative reviews, it's hard to even engage in the first place. If your customers are calling you or reaching out asking the status of their order, you're already behind because they're filling that void with negative information. How easy is it to get that information? All right, 3 points I'm going to make here today. Point number 1, as the book says in front of you, I'm all in on that customer experience of just being ridiculously easy to do business with. Easier said than done. Once again, a big thanks to the member, and hopefully you'll identify yourself, who provided a book for everybody else. We're talking about reducing friction in the process. When things are easy to do, we do more of it. When it's difficult to do, we do less of it. We are about to embark on a landmark research study with a partner called Actionable, which is a voice of the customer platform, working with some of the biggest companies, HSBC Bank and Emirates Airlines and Visa and others as well, to do research, and they do surveys for their customers, collecting all their data. But we're embarking on a study this fall to look at not just the simple answers of what is it people prefer, but what are they likely to do, the behavioral analytics that as a result of a changing policy for an organization, not just how do your customers feel, but what are they likely to do as a result? Are they going to become active detractors, or are they going to leave for others as well? You might have seen earlier this summer, big change with Carnival Cruise Lines. They had so many people who were part of their lifetime benefits program. They had earned this. They decided to take all of that away. They have to now earn it, $30,000 every 2 years. And gee, who would have expected that the backlash would be severe? This is a United hub, of course, here in Chicago. Every year, the requirements for elite status are raised again and again. What are people likely to do when you look at not just your customers in general, but your best customers? I was in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia last year speaking for a financial services company, a big global financial services company in Kuala Lumpur. And afterwards I did a Q&A, and hopefully we'll have some time for that today. And somebody asked me a very interesting question. And he got on the microphone, he says, is it ethical to treat your your customers, your best customers better? Is it ethical to treat your best paying customers, your highest, is it ethical to treat them better? I said, not only is it ethical, it's mandatory. Now stay with me on this. Everybody gets treated well. No excuse to treat people less, but for your best customers and clients, the perks, the opportunities that they're willing to pay for. I was talking to somebody who was talking about concierge physicians, right? If you have the resources and can get that additional level of care, additional level of attention, I will tell you, I am an unapologetic, compassionate capitalist. We work hard. We have the right to be compensated for what we do. We can do great good in this world if we do that. So we look at do we have programs for our frequent flyers or for whatever that might be? And I've got other examples. I won't go too far into that as well. But once again, our hard-won customers and clients, and they're getting frustrated more and more. They're angry. They're shouting at the phone. Remember the time when we were able to slam down that phone? There was something really satisfying back in the day. You get mad, slam down the phone. You can't slam down the phone anymore. I want to talk about the moments that matter to your customers and clients. I'm going to talk about the current research, in addition to the research that we're getting ready to embark upon as well. I will give credit to my colleagues who have done some great research, but what are the moments that matter to your customers and clients? Whoops. Zendesk, 52%, and I don't like people to read slides, but I'm going to do it because I don't have these by heart. 52% of customers switch to competitors after just one experience. Of course, it's different for different categories. Financial services, we're much more entwined, harder to leave, but in general, the point is made. We leave because we can. It's so important for us to take a step back and look at the various aspects of our customer journey and see how do we enhance that. All right, every survey, every study that's come out in the last couple of years, number one on the list, number one priority is speed. As I said before, speed of response, speed of access to information, how fast can we do it on our mobile device or online, resolving issues. Speed equates to time, and time equates to respect. People who feel like their time is wasted feel like they're being disrespected. Once again, it takes us taking a step back. We may be immersed and enmeshed in our own business, and we feel like the time that we're taking is this, there's a line, there's other people, all of that makes sense. But that empathy requires that we really look at it from their perspective, because they're not just comparing it to their last experience or to what they might get with a competitor, but also it's within the context of their life, what's important to them. I'm going to give you some tools to really dig deeper into understanding your customers and clients. Not just what are they likely to buy, but what's important to them. Who do they answer to? And I promise none of this is touchy-feely. This is smart business. Even the use of AI, we'll talk about that as well. Right? I love this. Your call is important. Enjoy this 40-minute flute solo. One of the biggest challenges, we're in this transition time. There's a lot of experimentation going on. How much are customers willing to put up with? How much can we reduce our FTEs? Can we replace with some measure of self-serve or automation? And we're learning. And we'll be in a different time. We're also in a time, I was in a presentation, somebody was talking about that for the first time ever, we're serving 5 generations at once. I'm having a hard time with the math on that. I think I can figure out 4. But once again, what makes somebody 80 years old impatient or intolerant is very different than somebody who's 19 or 20. And all of their money spends just as well. How do we serve them well? How do we segment and align ourselves to how they want to do business? Jay Baer, who wrote Hug Your Haters, great book as well, great colleague. 49% of customers are less likely to spend when a brand takes longer to respond, here's the key, than they expect that they should. This is part about managing expectations for what you may feel is a perfectly reasonable response time. Is it for them? And we can stand on principle. I talk about that I'm doing calls at 3 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the morning several times a month. And people bristle at that and they say, where's your life balance? I say, I have great life balance because I'm able to capture clients that my competitors aren't. You ever go to a website and you have a simple question? Just you're looking for a price, you're looking for anything, and there's no phone number. There's literally no phone number on the website. But what do they have? They have a contact form because that serves the company. right? We're just going to let Jan she'll field all of those inquiries. 86% of people will never fill out a contact form. 86%. Now you may say to yourself, people fill out my form all the time. They might, but you have no idea who didn't. That's lost business. What's the lifetime value of a customer or client in your business? What is that extra level of accommodation? What advantage does that give you over your competitors who are less accommodating? I do calls at 3 o'clock in the morning because when I have a client on the other side of the world and they want to have a call, I'm the one doing it in the middle of the night, and it's never them. I'm not noble. This feeds my family, and my competitors are great. They're great friends, great colleagues in the speaking world, and any one of them who might have been a finalist for a potential opportunity, a gig as we call it, they would have knocked it out of the park for them. If I can serve them better, I have an opportunity that other ones didn't. So once again, all of that. This one's interesting. Harvard Business Review, 100 times better chance of landing a client with a 5-minute response. Not 100%, 100 times better. Doesn't mean it's necessarily doable in your business model, but the lesson is clear. The lesson is, oftentimes whoever responds first gets the gig. The early bird catches the word, whatever that might be. Because once somebody finds what they're looking for, they stop looking. So while many of my competitors have contact forms and no phone number, because they said I'm on airplanes, that's fine. And I thank them because they're putting my kids through college, is that I've got a contract on the way because I've already had a conversation before they even respond. So once again, we're in the category of speed right now. That responsiveness can be pivotal. That said, you get to decide the parameters in your business. How many times, you remember the times when you had to go pick up dry cleaning or something, and it's like right at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and you get out of your car and you run up and you see them locking the door, and you're right there going, please, 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 just one more. And they're like, they have every right to lock that door at 5 o'clock. And if you're really smart, you're open until 5:30. In your office, does your phone go to voicemail for your company exactly at a time? My advice to you, set it 15 minutes later. Create that expectation, that understanding among our team. Help them understand, here's the lifetime value of our customers and clients. Pull back the tent. Help your customer, not your customers, help your employees understand, here's how we make money as a business. Here's what our customers and clients mean to us. Give them the business proposition in addition to the human side of it. That kind of availability can just be so pivotal, just in terms of a differentiator. Here's the other one that you probably don't think about, is how easy are you to complain to? How easy is it to reach somebody? Because oftentimes, from a sales perspective, we got lots of people available, but if there's something, a complaint, they're online, you can fill out a contact form or a form, and what happens to that person as they wait? As they fume, as they fill that space with negative scenarios that might or might not be true. Because here's the reality, this is my quote: when communication is restricted or delayed, problems escalate quickly. I say at a lot of hotels, I will see sometimes in the center of a table at a restaurant, it said, if something is wrong with your meal, don't tell Yelp, tell us. At Embassy Suites, there's a Lucite thing on the counter. It says, if there's anything you need, please let us know. When I turn in my car at Enterprise, they say the same thing to me every time. Welcome back, Mr. Avrin. How was the Camry or whatever it was? Just fine, thanks. Did you have a chance to fill it up? No, go ahead and charge me. And then they ask me the same question every time. Is there anything we could have done to have made this a more outstanding experience for you? You know what they're really saying? Please, God, don't go on TripAdvisor and trash us. Let me fix it now. Right? Because when we are very responsive, what do they have to go online and complain again? Once again, it's going to be a small fraction of your customers. I get that. Don't be dismissive of this. But there's a permanence to it. So that speed and ease of response is also real important. Okay, so first one is speed. Number two is choices, options. One of the challenges, I was on a podcast and somebody said, why is it that it seems that service is getting worse? I mean, if we know all of this, we've been talking, how could service be getting worse? And I said, well, it is getting worse, but it's not for the reason you probably think, is that we're becoming more rigid because we hire people, here's our policy, do it this way, because we don't want anarchy in our organization. We're scripting our response, we're scripting our empathy. Oh, I understand, Mr. Avrin, how frustrating that must be. And I'm like, don't read the script, please. Here's my issue, here's what I'm doing. Yes, Mr. Avrin. I'm like, don't read the script. That frustration, omni-channel, once again, how do your customers and clients in various segments, how do they prefer to do business? Are we making it easy for them to choose what they want? Grocery stores will tell you you have a choice, but you don't. It's social engineering. They have one staff checkout line with 4 carts, 5 carts deep, 27 self-checkout. And they say, we give you choice. It's not a choice. They're trying to get you to do business with them the way they want. I understand it from a headcount perspective. But a static economic model says cause and effect. If you save $1, you earn $1. If you're able to cut expenses by $1, you've got an extra $1 on the bottom line. That's a static model. We live in a dynamic economic model. And the dynamic one says there are behavioral ramifications to the decisions we make. And at some point, somebody's going to be frustrated enough that they're just going to leave. And so those financial projections don't work so well. Once again, we're in a time of experimentation and we're in a time of balance. Look at your model. How many ways, how do your customers pay you? How do you pay them? Is it the same as it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago? Think about the emerging generation of customers and clients who are now teens, 20s. How do they prefer to connect and communicate and pay? Are we making allowances for that? Once again, not trying to be overly basic, but it's hard. That's why disruption can be so damaging in your industry, but so attractive to others as well, because they get to come in and cherry pick your industry. You're saddled with legacy technology, legacy customers, facilities, whatever that might be. And they come in and say, we're not saddled with any of that. We're just going to do it this way. We're going to cherry pick all the best customers. One of the exercises that I do that we're not going to do here today when I work with organizations is about disrupting ourselves. I say, if you could compete against yourself, what would you do differently? And we split up the room and say, if you were to leave your company today, good terms, no non-compete, and you have a team of investors, you've got partners, and you're going to move across town, you're going to open up a competing business to the business you're in today. You're not saddled with any legacy technology, bills, debt, people. You can take all your knowledge and wisdom with you. You go across town, what would you do differently? What would you no longer do? What part of this? I've had people say, I wouldn't do this business at all, and it gets a laugh in the room. Other people say, I would do this, I would outsource this part, I would just focus on this part. Well, the disruptors in your market have that freedom today to come in, and if you can, my assertion is always, if you can identify the deficiencies in your current model, don't you think competitors can as well? So that introspection of saying, if we were going to start over, what would we do differently? How much of that can you do today? That's how we future-proof our business model as well. Once again, we talked about payment. Next one is convenience. So we've got speed, we've got choices, and convenience. And all the studies, actually convenience comes up number 2 as a primary driver. Who's easiest? It's not just we don't think simple, it's just how fast can we get in and out. If you have a certain amount of time for lunch, you go somewhere, you see a line, we're going to go somewhere else. Shep Hyken, another great colleague, his study, 63%, this one's so interesting, 63% of people say they prefer a convenient experience to a friendly one. Now, I don't think it's suggesting that anybody doesn't want friendly. It's just, friendly is great. Just don't give me friendly and say no. Don't give me friendly and then be rigid or give me scripted response. I don't need to be placated. I need to be served. And it doesn't mean the answer is always yes. We're going to talk about that. The answer is not always yes. But even when it's not, what are the alternatives? How are we treating our customers and clients? Next one on, once again, we're talking friction. Next one is simplicity. Simplicity of process. How easy? Is it complicated? What's the most visited website in the world? It's Google. How complicated is their website? How hard is it? If you have not redesigned your website in the last 3 years, you're out of date. Remember the time we'd go to and there would be some animated introduction on the website in the bottom right-hand corner, it said skip, right? And we all skipped. People are trading in $100,000 websites for $5,000 websites, $1,000 websites. I create my own. I've got 9 websites for different ventures, and I just do it all myself in Squarespace. But it's got plugins and everything else. But simplicity, how do you help people get from A to B faster? A lot of frustration. I'm talking to my 22-year-old son, typical young man, always trying to find the angle, trying to find the way to not work. And his assertion to me always is why would I do something that doesn't make sense? Why do I need to know Algebra 2? I'm never going to use Algebra 2. And I'm like, part of it's just doing the things you don't want to do because you have to. It doesn't make sense. But he also finds it crazy that we used to buy an entire record album to get one song, right? Let me put it this way. Nobody wants to stand in line at the buffet if they just need to refill their drink. Help people get what they want, get to what they want faster. It's hard when we have a whole process we want them to go through. Look at it again with fresh eyes. What if they don't need the process? What if they want just one thing? I will tell you, I'm a former Vistage chair. I used to lead CEO groups for Vistage, which is the big international one. I don't work with them anymore. I only work with Convene. I'm so dyed-in-the-wool a fan of this model. But one of the things that they taught, and I don't mean to talk disparagingly, because any leader who joins this dynamic, I think, is ahead of the game. But they created this whole process that was arduous. When we had a prospect for our group, we had to do what we called a telling session. God, I hope this isn't being recorded and sent out. But it was where we would say to them at the very beginning of the conversation, I couldn't even sign you to my group today if I wanted to. We're just going to talk about this, and then we're going to come to a mutual agreement at the end of this, and then we're going to schedule a selection interview. And then if we get through that, then we're going to agree on, and it felt like I was selling timeshares. Why are we making this more complicated? Take a step back from your own process. Is there a way for people to get to what they want faster instead of getting frustrated that they're trying to skip the line? If somebody wants a rush, the first thought in our mind is, well, we can charge them extra, right? We're gonna penalize them for wanting something faster, or they're gonna skip the line because we have other people waiting. As opposed to, here's an idea, why don't we honor those frequent flyers in our business? We've identified you as one of our prime customers. We have this special program for a very small subscription fee. We assign you your own concierge this, you get priority for this and this. And instead of penalizing, we're honoring them, we get reoccurring revenue. It's a different way of thinking about how we're serving and serving those people. Oh, did we lose this here? Hang on a second. No worries. Oh, the whole thing just went away. Okay, hang on a minute. We'll get it. Little game show. Okay. I love this illustration. This one, I think illustrates it very, very well. Now, clearly, when they're laying out this office park, it's very clear where they would put the paths, where people would walk. But they're telling them where they want to walk. Now, here's the question: what are they likely to do? The facility management. We know what they're going to do. They're going to put a barricade up with a sign that says, "Don't walk on the grass." Somebody else is going to say, "I got a better idea. Why don't we plant a tree right in the middle of that to stop people from doing what they're not supposed to do?" A customer-centric mindset says what? Pave it. That's where people want to walk. If you're familiar with Dr. Nita Cobain, High Point University, amazing institution. My daughter was a graduate there. he told me, I had a great conversation once, and he told me all about it. First time he walked campus, he told everybody on his staff, grab a clipboard, let's go. And he walked around, why is that way? Okay, why is that? And he said, what's this? There's a big worn path across the commons, and they said, oh, that's where the kids are cutting across. He says, if that's where they want to walk, pave it, let's go. Boom, 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 customer-centric. How do they want to do business? Where reasonable, can we accommodate? Can we align for what that is? And the last one, of course, in terms of friction, is accommodation. We have to find ways to say yes more often. Doesn't mean it's always yes, but we're saying no to some stupid things. Because that's just how we do business. I was leaving speaking for a CEO group, leaving a hotel one morning, like 6:30 in the morning. I stop at the front desk on the way out, true story, and I said, I'm in room 227, I need to do a late checkout, please. And I'm walking around, she goes, oh, I'm so sorry, sir, we're not doing any late checkouts. I'm so sorry. I said, I'm running to a meeting right now. She goes, yeah, we have a conference coming in, and my manager said we can't do any late checkouts. I'm so sorry. And I said, I'm leaving now. I can't get out, but I'm done on stage speaking at noon. And she goes, well, you need to be out by noon. I said, I can't. And she says, true story. She says, I'm so sorry, sir, if you can't be out by noon, we're gonna have to charge you for a second day. And then she gives me the yikes face, like, yikes, sorry. Now understand, I teach this, and it's not her fault. So I paused and I said, okay, I got it, I understand what your manager said, but if you're gonna charge me for a second day, then I'm just not gonna check out of the room. I mean, if I pay for the room, then I have a legal right to keep it, so I'm just not gonna check out of the room. But now you don't have a room for that conference attendee who is flying in. Is that the outcome you were looking for? And she's like, just hang on one second, right? And she comes back, she goes, 1 o'clock would be fine. I'm like, you think? No, let's be fair. Did she want to say yes to me? Of course she did. Of course she did, but her manager was lazy. Just treat everybody the same. The reality is, rigid policies like that drive customers crazy and drive them away. Here's another example. You're at a restaurant with some of your friends. You ask the waiter or waitress, say, I want to do the chicken Caesar salad, please. Can I do shrimp instead of chicken? I see that's on the menu for something else. And they come back and say, no menu substitutions. Why? It's a different protein. Charge a couple of extra bucks, but the easy thing, the lazy thing is to say no. Now, they have every right to say no, but it's just what a lost opportunity for the easy things that they could say yes to. Now, also clearly, sometimes the answer is no. If you have a vegan restaurant, somebody wants a buffalo burger, sorry, dude, that's a hard no. But the greatest response I got, I'd flown in, excuse me, I'd flown into Johannesburg in South Africa. I got like 5:30 in the morning. I'm at the hotel by 6:30 or 7. I'm speaking at 2 in the afternoon. There are no rooms available. It's early in the morning, they haven't even checked out yet. So I'm at the front desk, he says, I'm so sorry, sir, we don't have any rooms. And he had the best, let's see if I have a slide for this. Come on, baby. We don't do that. I may reboot this during the exercise. He says, we don't have any rooms available, I'm sorry about that, but let me tell you what I can do. What a brilliant response. Instead of no, sorry, there's no rooms, we'll let you know when your room's available. He says, let me tell you what I can do. I give you let me magnetize a card. I'll give you access to the gym if you want to take a shower. We've got a hospitality suite. I'll have somebody bring an iron and ironing board so you can iron your suit because your room may not be ready before you have to get on stage. Just that. So think about in your business and how you're dealing with customers and clients. Sometimes the answer is no. But anytime we can say, let me tell you what I can do. Maybe it's a referral to a trusted partner. Maybe it's offering something in lieu of what they wanted that might have even been a better choice. But it's that mindset of service. But we're very good at quoting policy. And I'm a big fan of guidelines, right? That's what you get with Nordstrom, right? You can solve anything up to this amount of money before you have to get a manager, whatever that might be. This is what I mean when I talk about pulling back the curtain a little bit. Help your employees understand, here's how we make money. Here's why we decide what we do, and here's the leeway we're going to give you to thrill your customers and clients. But instead, we're so afraid of the anarchy that might ensue that we interview, we ask great questions of our prospective employees, and tell me a time when something didn't work out, how did you handle that? And then we hire them and say, now do it this way. You got brilliance on your team. Help them understand. And a lot of people grew up not even knowing what a good experience looks like because they never experienced it. And you got to demonstrate that for them. All right, so where are we for time right now? Oh, there we go, 11:10. If you need to hit the restroom or something, you can do that, but we're going to push right through because we got about 50 minutes left, and I want to do an exercise, but I'm going to teach you an AI. It's not a trick, it's not a hack, it's a strategy that will be transformative. One of the things that I'm so grateful for is I'm speaking at a lot of conferences, and invariably there's also somebody on the program who's talking about AI, and oftentimes at a very high level. So I want to share something with you. First one was about being ridiculously easy. Number two is that customer centricity, understanding our customers on a deeper level, and how do we do that? What's important to them? As we look at it, we're very clear on our own business model. Here's how we're profitable. Here's how things work. In most cases, we have vetted those. We've tried them. We've made the tweaks already, and it works. But we also know our customers are changing, and their preferences as well. Hold on a second. We all grew up with the golden rule. Mom and dad, early employers, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Just treat people the way you want to be treated. Sounds good on paper, but we know our customers and clients aren't us. Dr. Tony Alessandra talks about the platinum rule. Platinum rule says, do unto others as they would have done unto themselves. In other words, don't treat people the way you want to be treated. Treat them like they want to be treated. And to do that, we have to understand who they are beyond the demographics and the psychographics. I'm going to give you a couple of great exercises to do that, to understand them better. I spoke recently for the Global Retail Marketers Association. In the audience, VP of Marketing, Costco, McDonald's, David's Bridal, Big O Tires. Phenomenal, great opportunity. But one of the presenters was a guy named Jeff Woods. And he wrote The AI-Driven Leader, highly recommended, but he talked about a system that he had developed to understand audiences better. He told a scenario of a client that he had who was with a publicly traded company, CEO, had a hostile board, and had a presentation, would likely lose their job within 4 or 5 months. And he helped him create an AI profile of each of the members of the board, uploading everything they've ever written, everywhere they've ever worked. And he assigned roles to different AIs. You're this person, you're this person. So he would vet his ideas, he would practice before this fake board so that he was prepared when he finally had to. And the results were amazing. He got renewed, all of this as well. And so he taught it to us, and I'm going to teach it to you. I got permission from him to do this, and I've never shared this before, but I wanted to share it with you because it's remarkable. And so here's how it goes. So often we think about AI, and of course most of us misunderstand or aren't fully comprehend the real potential of what it can be, and we give it menial tasks, or we ask it simple questions as a replacement for Google. And he says the real value is not asking it questions, it's having it ask you questions. So there's an acronym, and the acronym is CRIT, C-R-I-T. I will send this to all of you. At the end, you can take a picture of the screen if you want, or we're going to do the QR code. But I'm going to walk you through this, and this will change your business. And it has already landed me the biggest potential client of my career, and I'm going to tell you how I did it. So just typed in exactly the way it is. If you're on ChatGPT and say, you really want to understand your perfect customer or client better. So first is the context. So you type it in the screen just like this, context. And then you literally share as much information about your business as you can. So we're not going to do this all together right now because it's a longer thing. Here's what my business is. Here's what I do. Here's my competitive marketplace. Here's where my successes are. Here's the challenges we see moving forward. One of the things I've learned about ChatGPT, for example, is you can do a prompt that's 2 pages long. The more information, the better. It doesn't need lots of time to process it. It gets it all pretty quickly. So here's the situation that I'm dealing with. I'll give you an example for me. I'm getting ready to launch, very excited, I'm not selling any of you on this, a certification model. You're all familiar with Great Place to Work, for example. They measure company culture. Better Business Bureau measures adherence to ethical business practices. And I'm getting ready to launch Ridiculously Easy to Do Business with Certified, measure friction within an organization. How do your customers feel, whatever else. I want to make a presentation. I'm not going to give you too many clues so you know who this is, but somebody who I've spoken for a couple of times. He hired me to speak for a big, huge franchise organization. He got hired by private equity for another massive company, hired me again to keynote their conference. My goal is this guy. I want him to say yes to a pilot program, and if he likes it, we could launch multinational very, very quickly. So I gave it the context. Here's the business model, here's what we're doing, here's my website, here's my scripts, here's my marketing, here's everything, here's the competitive marketplace, everything, probably a page long. Here's the real key. The next part is you assign ChatGPT, or whatever you're using, Claude, or assign it a role. You are blank. Now you can do it, say you are one of the top marketing agency directors in New York. Give me 10 great ideas for advertising campaigns for whatever, and it'll do all of this. But I said, you are Mike, and I gave the last name. Here's your background, here's his background. I want you to go online, I want you to find everywhere he's ever worked, we scrape every article he's ever written, who does he report to, what are his drivers, what's going to be important to him. My goal is to get him to say yes to doing this pilot program. The next one is interview, and this is all part of one long prompt, and the interview says, ask me 5 questions, one at a time. And at the end of that, you will be satisfied with the answers that you will move forward with my pilot program. And then task. And the task is, tell me everything that's missing in my current answers or presentation. What do I need to bolster? What's missing? Tell me what I need to do, right? Give me 5 non-obvious answers for blank. And I put in there, and friends, it was astonishing. And it says, great, got it. You want me to do this and this and this? Perfect. He says, okay, I'm Mike. And then it asked me a question. And I'm like, oh, that was a good question. Do a long response. It steps out of its role. It said, you did a great job of connecting this to this. Mike's really going to like this because of his background with private equity, whatever. Okay, I'm Mike again. And I'm just sitting back. It asked me another question. And it says, when we sit down and create this questionnaire for blah, 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 and I respond, I think you misunderstand. This is not enterprise. We are an external validating body. We're using industry standards for this industry, for what a seamless experience looks like, for whatever else. You can be part of the initial part, but we're not, this isn't custom for you. This is going to be rolled out. Now I understand better, and it influences the next question. Once again, each question one at a time. And at the end, it told me what was missing. And I made the presentation 3 days ago, got a thumbs up, moving forward on this, and it was just this remarkable way of him asking me questions so that I could make sure I was prepared for that. And I think that there's a great opportunity when you talk about your business model. Here's our perfect customer and client. Ask me questions. Trying to think, how do I make this broad? What is it that's important to them? How are you going to serve this? Here's changed in my life, so what's your real differentiation? I'm looking at a marketplace with all these choices. Tell me why you're better for this and this. And then when that answer comes back, it asks you another one. It's just a great way of like interviewing your customers without doing so. He said he's got his own board of directors now. It's Warren Buffett, it's Steve Jobs, it's Bill Gates, and everything he does, he's created a AI version of them and asked the question. But once again, I'll send you this formula, but try it a couple of times. It's really remarkable. A great example of a company, I don't think they followed this, but it's an example of them doing this. I talk about this in my new book. There's a car dealership brand in Colorado called the Ralph Schomp, clearly the guy's name, family of car dealerships. Well, they looked and say, what are the things that people traditionally hate about car buying, right? is that you got to negotiate the price, that you're dealing with all these different people. Let me go back and talk to my, my finance manager, and they come back and talk to you. And then, of course, it takes all day. And you know it takes all day intentionally, because then they know you don't want to start over again. They're going to go back, talk to their finance manager, and they're talking about sports, whatever. Do we have car guys or women in the audience? Okay, sorry. Was that demeaning, or was it Jen? Okay, good. Thank you. But everybody, once again, everybody's trying to make a living. So they said, we're going to address all the things that people hate. And they called it their one promise, and they trademarked this: one price, one person, 1 hour. Now, assuming you're going to get a fair price, and now you're in a comparative situation, there's all these other opportunities. I'm likely going to come out with the same car around the same price. Which one is preferable, right? Because this isn't just about being capable and qualified and competent or compliant, right, from a regulatory perspective. At the end of the day, we have to be preferable. And this isn't just about your marketing messages, clearly important, but literally how it is to do business with you. Are we creating an army of ambassadors who sing your praises? And I just thought this was the most brilliant example of really tapping into what customers, what's important to them, and addressing them in your business model. All right, we have just over half an hour. I want to do an exercise together. So look in front of you. Everybody should have this in front of them. And I'm going to give you a couple of rules and requests. First of all, I would like everybody to participate. I promise you're going to walk out with something very tangible to bring back to your business. Do not skip ahead. There is no surprise. There is no prize for getting it done faster. As a matter of fact, you're not going to do it correctly because you're going to miss the instruction. Okay? So don't skip ahead. I always look ahead and people are already writing. Trust me, let me explain what I want, and then you'll get so much more out of the exercise. All right? This is what I call a day in the life of your customer. First of all, I want you to envision in your mind, who is your perfect customer or client? It can be modeled after somebody you're currently working with, but it's one of these that, like, if I could have 20 of these, my life would be great. They need what you're selling. They have the financial resources to afford you. They will likely buy again. So I want you to picture, we're going to create an avatar of this perfect customer. Not a type of a person. I want you to envision a real person. What do they look like? Imagine having a conversation. Okay? I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and each of the 5 questions, oh no, we're not going to do that part yet, sorry. So don't worry about reading the first page. Turn the page, and at the top of the page it'll say profile number 1. Everybody got that? Okay. Once again, once you think about this is my, and if you're expanding to another area, like in your business, you can use that for this exercise. But I'm also going to teach you as I do this how to facilitate this, because I'm also going to send you a blank version of this so that you can do this with your team. Because sometimes you'll be really surprised, and I've worked with organizations that will do it in different rooms, and people have a very different idea of who their perfect customer is. So in terms of alignment, but I want you to be able to do this with your team as well, so I'm going to model it as we do it, okay? So feel free to write on this because we'll get you a blank one. Okay, perfect customer or client, not a type of a person. What is their age and gender? It's not everybody, but it's what's it likely to be? I'll tell you in my business, it's likely to be a 45-year-old woman. That's who my team is generally working with. She's the meeting planner, she's the executive in charge or for an organization's events or whatever that might be. Sometimes it's a man, sometimes it's older or younger, but it's generally that. And I am going to hold you to that. A gender and an age. Got it? Next one, what is their job or position? What do they do? That this is the person you sell to. And go as high up in the organization as you can, because if you are finding somebody who has to go get approval from 9 other people, it's not your perfect customer. It's the same thing for members of Convene. By and large, you need to have top-line P&L responsibility. If you have to go back and ask permission to implement the wisdom that you got from your group, probably not the right fit. All right? What job or position they have. What is their education level? No judgment. If you're in lawn and landscaping, it's probably, might be a trade. If you're in financial services, it might be a master's. Just understand them on a better level. And once again, the job or position above that, part of what makes them a great customer or client, it might be somebody who is new to the role, right? They're not tied to the previous vendors. This is an opportunity for you to get in and sell to them. So the job or position, the person you are, I don't want to say targeting, the person you're selling to, communicating with, that person is really important. Work experience, I want you to give them a little bit of a backstory. Make them real. Maybe it's the multi-generational, somebody's taking over for mom or dad in the company. Maybe they went away for years and they're coming back to assume the role. Maybe they're the new director of procurement. Give me a little bit of a backstory of who they are. If you are B2C, then who's your ideal customer? Make them real. Once again, don't skip ahead. Somebody makes them interesting, all right? Next one, marital status. Why do I ask? Because it's just real. But leave room on the right side. So just married, single, kids, grandkids. And then on the right side of that field, I want you to put something really interesting about that person that maybe nobody would know. Humanize them. Maybe they do missions trips with their church. Maybe they coach their kids' team. Maybe they have a developmentally disabled child or an aging parent that they're taking care of. Maybe they're a former musician or had Olympic aspirations until they got an injury. Maybe they sang with an a cappella group and had CDs and opened for Ray Charles. Oh, that was me. Everybody's got something. Maybe they're dealing with significant heartache. I'm sure many of you have seen that very famous training video for Chick-fil-A. And if you haven't, I encourage you to look it up on YouTube. It's called Every Person Has a Story. And it is powerful, it's heartbreaking, and it's from the position of behind the counter at Chick-fil-A, and it's looking out and you see a whole dining room full of people in line and sitting down, and then it zooms in on somebody and it says, 40th wedding anniversary. It zooms in and says, it's been 3 months since husband passed away. Just lost their job trying to make ends meet. And when really gut-wrenching, it shows this little girl with a smile on her face, like 5 years old. It said, Mom died during childbirth and Dad blames her. Everybody has a story. It's not just what their job is, what are they likely to buy, but the drivers that we have are oftentimes very personal. Make this person real. And finally, in the last one, give them a name. Real people have names. Who is your person? If you deal with a particular ethnicity, make it representative of that. I want you to look at this. I want you to imagine having this conversation with this person. You're having coffee. What do they look like? Oh, and here's one more caveat. I want you to like them. I want you to like this person a lot. Isn't it great to do business with people we really like? And my contention is, I think most people, there's a lot to like. Like, I love it. I love it when he comes in. He's just so funny all the time. Or I love working with her. She's just dynamite. She gets stuff done. I wish she'd come work for me. I want you to like that person. You got it? Flip it over. At the very top, you'll see profile number 2. Everything's the same except a couple of caveats. Number 1, opposite gender. And this, by the way, this is another perfect customer because you can't necessarily get them all just with one. I I'm going to let you do a second one. Opposite gender, and this person has to be at least 15 years older or younger than person number 1. Flip it over if you need to. Look at the age. This person, opposite gender, 15 years older or younger than person number 1. Fill the rest of it out the same. What job do they do that constitutes a perfect customer or client? A little bit of their story, a little bit of their background, make them real. And something interesting. I had a guy in a group, he says, we had a lot more time, we were doing a full day, and he says, my person is 35-year-old this, and blah, 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 and he does Civil War reenactments on the weekends. And I smiled, I said, well, that's kind of random, is that you? And he says, yeah, that's me. Isn't that fun? Everybody in this room. And that's one of the beauties of great Convene groups is when you get to that level of trust and personalization, you really share these things. What are you passionate about? What are your heartaches? Because you'll spend time talking about business and problem employees and disruption, but you'll also talk about cancer and at times divorce, because that's real. And people choose for real reasons. And the relationships that we foster and the ones that we maintain for real reasons. Once again, at the very end, give them a name. Real people have names. Look at this. I want you to imagine a conversation. What do they look like? All right, we are going to put person number 2 away for now in the interest of time. So everything, look back, flip it over, look back at person number 1. Every question I'm going to ask you pertains to person number 1. This is your perfect customer or client. Got it? Turn the page. At the top of the page, you're going to see part 2, profile 1. Now I'm going to ask you 5 questions. Do not skip ahead, because I'm going to ask them in a certain way. So I got 5 questions, and each of those 5 questions, see if you can come up with 5 answers. You're so tempted to start and to skip ahead. Okay, perfect customer client. Question number 1. What are 5 things that they dislike about your industry? Not you per se, it might be. Maybe what you've heard them say about others. Oh, I know that they hate it. So-and-so does this, right? They're always falling short. What would they say they dislike about your, just common complaints? Pricing, rigid, unreliable, hard to schedule. They never call me, I always have to call them. Here's another way to think about it. Finish this sentence. Our industry is notorious for blank. Like, what are some stereotypes maybe about your industry? And don't go to the next one. And don't overthink it. Some pretty obvious complaints. Give you another 15 seconds. And you're welcome to go back and tweak other ideas you might have. Thanks. All right, question number 2. What are 5 things, listen to how I asked this. What are 5 things your perfect customer or client would love if you would do it or offer it? Don't tell me what they love about you. Tell me what they wish you would do or wish you would offer. Oh, I'd really love it if they let me do blank. You know, it'd be great if I didn't have to blank. Think about the requests that you get sometimes, maybe as a company. Maybe it might be a service enhancement. I wish they would also offer blank, whatever that might be. Doesn't mean you have to do it, but what do they ask for? Here's another way to put it. If your perfect customer could wave a magic wand, what would they make you do differently? And as you're thinking, I will tell you, this question has elicited more profitable responses than anything I've ever asked in 25 years of doing this. Because essentially we're crowdsourcing the audience. I will tell you a scenario, I won't tell you the company. I was in Southern California working with a room like this, 250 people, all in round tables, one company. And I asked the question, what do you think your customers would love that you don't currently offer? And in 7 minutes, we had flip charts, we crowdsourced 2,000 ideas, 250 people, I guess, or whatever, 1,200 ideas. And we narrowed it down to 40 ideas that would be game-changing in their industry. A lot of them we weeded out were just duplicates or ridiculous things that would never happen. But even if it's a technology that doesn't exist, what is it you think your customers, what's next iteration for your industry? Came up with 40, narrowed it down to 10, and then 6 that they committed to exploring. They put committees together of what would it take to offer this. And 2 of those things you would know today. And I signed a non-compete. It's killing me, because I would love to take credit for it. But the reality is, it wasn't my idea, it was their idea. But nobody asked that question. We asked the question, what do your customers love about you? But we're asking, what would they wish that you would do? It's a great question to ask your team. And sometimes I've been in situations where they said, oh yeah, I get requests for this. And somebody goes, oh yeah, I get that all the time. And leadership's like, really? How do we have a process in place to document the requests that we can't fulfill for our customers and clients and pass that up the chain of command? I tell a story in one of my books about, I was at O'Hare, Chicago O'Hare, at the, the A concourse with the Chili's, right? The Chili's 2, whatever. And I'm sitting at the counter or at the bar railing facing the concourse. And I'm eating lunch and somebody comes up and they asks the hostess a question. She says, no, I'm sorry, and the person leaves in frustration. See somebody else ask the same question. This is all pre-COVID. Again and again, same question, sorry, no, sorry, no. You wonder what the question was that was being asked. It would not surprise you to learn the question being asked is, do you have a table next to an electrical outlet? Isn't that crazy? And the answer is no, but the question I had in my mind was, do you think she was passing that on to her manager? No. And it's easy to dismiss and think she didn't care, but she was great. She was killing, she was very busy, she was great. She just didn't have that in her mind that was her job. Her job was to seat people as opposed to building the business. Do we have a mechanism in place to document the requests that we're getting that we can't fulfill? So at least leadership can make the decision, is there sufficient volume to explore? Maybe that's a service enhancement, maybe that's a value add, maybe that's a new line, new profit center for our business. Put those mechanisms in place. All right, next one. What are 5 things that your perfect customer client needs in order to choose you? What do they need to know? What do they need to believe? Do they need customer testimonials? Do they need to know that you have earned special certification, pre-qualify? And the question is, are you proactively providing it? I mean, if ultimately they need to see some financial data to validate your assertions, whatever, are we proactively doing it? And as you're writing, I'll give you a really interesting example. I was in Princeton, New Jersey, working with a very high-end prosthodontic dental practice. They did full mouth replacements and all of this. And one of their biggest issues was the cost is exorbitant, $25,000, $30,000. Oftentimes they needed both spouses to be there. But one of the things that they came to recognize is people needed permission to do something nice for themselves. And by and large, it was the women, and this is not degrading. The women they said they talked to they always thought of their family first. They thought of but if we do this, and I want my kids to have this, whatever else. And they got a lot of people going through divorce or something else, and this whole idea of saying I'm going to do this for me. I want to feel better about myself. I've been embarrassed about my smile my whole life. And the need was permission that they had to give themselves to prioritize themselves. Everybody's got a different business. The needs are sometimes very interesting that way. Next one is, what are 5 things that they fear? Not like spiders. They fear your underperformance. They fear that you're overpromising. They fear that they're going to buy technology that will be outdated or antiquated. They absolutely fear the small print in your contracts. We're seeing a great number of organizations simplifying contracts. They don't need to. The lawyers love to put everything in there, but you don't need to account for everything. Sometimes case law will do that. We're seeing contracts going from 10 pages down to 3 pages. Makes it easier, ridiculously easy to say yes. What is it they fear? And I'll give you one more thing, especially if you're a professional service provider. We talk a lot about the challenges of customer acquisition, right? In most cases, acquisition isn't your issue. It's customer conversion, because most people are being served by somebody. So part of our job in professional service is to convince them to stop working with who they're working with and start working with us ethically. That's a hard lift. Oftentimes the fear of the customer is firing their current service provider, who oftentimes has done nothing wrong. And somebody work with financial services person, whatever, and saying, I'm going to switch to whatever. And they're like, wait, whoa, I thought I worked with your father. I worked with blah, blah, blah. I'm the idiot. When I was in college, if I failed a class or failing class, I was so afraid to face the professor to drop the class that I would just take the F. If I was my father, it would kill me. But just that confrontation was so, because the easiest choice is just not to do anything different. So once again, the fears, be clear. And then here's the last one. What are 5 other choices that your prospect has? I'll give you the first one. Easiest choice is not to do anything different than they're currently doing. Don't buy anything new. Don't age that equipment. So you're fighting against, or competing against competitors. You're also competing against complacency. So the other choices might be to do it in-house, to put it off, to outsource, use AI, whatever that might be. The purpose of this exercise, as you look at it, is to look deeper at who that customer and client is. Of course, we get revenue from a lot of different sources or different levels, but we better be the best choice for our perfect customer or client. As you look at the list of things that that person, you know them well. I'm not suggesting you ask your customers these questions, but you get a good sense of what it is they like or what they don't like. And you ask yourself the question, how many of those things are we guilty of? In that first column, things that they dislike, do we do that? Do we dismiss that as that's how the industry works? Because that puts you in a very precarious position. As I like to say, if necessity is the mother of invention, then complacency is the father of disruption. When you are complacent, you think what we do, well, that's just the way it's done. People may not like it, but this is how our industry's worked for 100 years. You are so primed for disruption in your category. The next one down, the things that our customers would love. Find one or two of those and say, I don't know, maybe we could do that. You have a great competitive advantage. You're offering something your competitors don't. Can they replicate that? Of course. But we're always asking this question. I would really suggest that you do this. Once again, I'm going to give you a QR code at the end. Do this exercise with your team. It's always fascinating to see who they think your perfect customer is. You're going to hear brilliance from your team of ways to serve them better, but this is a good way to start. I like the AI thing as well with the crit. Have them interview you. What is it that maybe they are wondering that's keeping them from moving forward? Product-centric is how business has been done for the last couple thousand years. We're very good at what we do, and we sell it to as many people as possible. That creates market share. But we're seeing as the shift is from product-centric to customer-centric. And customer-centric doesn't mean customer-focused. We're all customer-focused. Customer-centric says we're good at what we do, we're not taking our eye off the ball, but we're going to be better than our competitors at understanding the wants, needs, fears, preferences of our customers and clients so that we can alter, we can align better and serve them better than our competitors can. Because our competitors are good and we're good. What makes us better? What are the things that we understand? Was that helpful? There's not a whole lot of time for conversation. I would hope that you would do that within your group. But as you think deeper about who those customers and clients are, product-centric says how much stuff can we sell them? Nothing wrong with that. Customer-centric asks a different question. How many ways can we enhance their life? And this isn't touchy-feely, it's truly, can we respond faster and better, internally and externally? Can we be more flexible for the things that they want? Can we listen harder for all those things? All right, first one was being ridiculously easy. Number two is being more customer-centric. And here's the last one, just in the last few minutes that I have. And I'm happy to stick around for some Q&A if you have it. I'll be around for lunch as well. Is recognize that opportunities are profound. I want to tell you a very personal story. So I'm sitting home with my wife one day. I have the whole lower level of the house, my recording studio. I do podcasts and video, whatever. She's recently got her master's degree in organizational psychology, and she mentors women who are going through transition. I'm so impressed and proud of my wife. She's amazing. And at the end of the day, because we're empty nesters, we have a chance to connect. And so we're sitting on the couch and just checking social media and just connecting at the end of the day. And I look over, whoops, come on, work. And I hear this sound. And I look at her phone and I said, who is that? Who are you texting? All right, this story actually goes back to 1996. My wife was 28 years old, serving in the United States Air Force. She had left home 10 years earlier after a very contentious relationship with her mom, very abusive childhood. And she's now serving in the US Air Force. It's been 10 years and there had been no contact. And one day, come on, baby. One day she decided to do something bold. Enough time had passed. She pulled out a pen and a piece of paper and she wrote a letter to her mom. It wasn't a long letter, just a simple letter requesting to meet. Folded it up, put it in an envelope, and she mailed it off, but she didn't mail it to her mom's address. She mailed it to the Michigan Department of Family Services. And she didn't mail the letter to the mom who raised her. She mailed the letter to the mom who had given birth to her in 1969. My wife Laura was adopted. And back then, everything was closed. And she decided she was going to try and figure out. Laws had started to change. And so now they had created a scenario where if you made a request through the department, they would assign an intermediary. They would go and try and find the birth parent. If both parents agreed, they would arrange for the meeting. So she sent it off and waited. And 6 weeks later, she got a letter in the mail, but it wasn't the letter that she was hoping for. As a matter of fact, the mother had responded that not only did she not want to meet, but she requested that no future outreach ever be made. Disappointed, to be sure, she went on and had a great life. She raised 2 amazing kids with her then husband. And then, about 12 years ago, something really amazing happened to Laurel. She met me. And she's the most amazing thing. We have just the most, she's such a blessing in my life. And we were talking one day about my kids and their grandparents. And she acknowledged that she had always wondered. She always wondered like who she was and what could she tell her kids who are now in their late teens. And so once again, she decided to do something bold. And instead of pulling out a pen and a piece of paper, this time she pulled out a tube, filled it with saliva, and sent it off to Ancestry.com. And we're thinking we're going to find some distant relative, and we're going to try and work out things. I have a whiteboard. I was very excited. We're going to figure all this out. Fills it, sends it off, and 3 weeks later she gets an email. Click here for DNA relatives. And we're so excited. And so we went on the back porch. She's got the laptop open, and she clicks it, and it pops up on the screen immediately. Thomas Wilfred Schumacher, father. And I said, Laurel, that's your dad. That's your dad. That's your dad. Maybe he's alive. And so what's crazy today is you don't have to go through the department or anything else. Today you just go to Facebook. And we found him in 20 seconds. Her father, her brother, the woman that her dad ultimately married. And so we're trying to think about how do we reach out? And she's like, I don't want to be disruptive, whatever. So we decided, I reached out through the brother, and I started having this conversation, and I said, Matt, he's a fiddle player. I saw him online. I said, you're amazing. I said, can I ask you a question? I said, do you have any brothers and sisters? He goes, no, I'm an only child. And I said, nah, actually, you're not. And he's like, what? Anyway, long story short, her dad had no idea that she existed. He didn't know he had a daughter. He didn't know he had grandchildren. It was one of those things that it was late 60s. What do they say? If you remember the 60s, you weren't really there. It was one of those. And it was a teenager, and it was some party, and he never saw her again because she went and had a baby. Thank God she went and had the baby. And so today they have this amazing relationship. We just went out to her brother's wedding, and this blessing of this family that we didn't know existed, and they've embraced her, and she's embraced them, and so we're sitting, and so, come on, sorry about that. So we're sitting on the couch, and I looked at her, I said, who is that? Who are you texting? Sorry, I still get emotional. She says, it's my dad. Sorry, I get emotional. It's because it's still happening. This most amazing blessing in our lives. And the crazy thing is, it was there. He was always there. They were in Nashville, found out that her brother and her had been at the same music festival at one time. And because of new technology, and new resources and new methodologies, we're able to find information that we've never found before. She found her family. And people are finding customers and clients and learning more about them than you've ever known before. And those opportunities are there as well. We're out of time. I'm happy to stick around if you have any particular questions. I know a lot to cover there. Going over the 3 things, the easy to do business with, walk your customer's journey, take a step back. What's really hard is when what you have is working and it's working well. Not saying we need to blow anything up, but really ask the question, is that how they prefer to converse with us or reach out, and how responsive? How consistent are we with that? How do they want to pay or connect or follow up? And do we have systems and processes that guarantee we're doing it? That customer centricity is understanding them on a deeper level. What do they prefer? What makes them frustrated? What do they need? And of course, recognizing the opportunities as well. I would invite you to connect with me, especially on LinkedIn. It's just my name on On Instagram, it's the real David Avrin. That's a catfish for a whole other day, another conversation. Once again, if you pull out your phones and open up your camera, don't take a picture, just open up your camera. I'm going to give you a QR code. I'll send you the slides. I'll send you the information on that AI crit exercise as well. You all got a copy of the book. If you were the one who sponsored the book for everybody, please raise your hand and be recognized. Thank you for that. Really appreciate that. Thank you. I'd rather sit and break bread with you than sit in the back of the room with a Visa and MasterCard machine, so thank you for that. All right, so on the screen, just scan that. It'll also be on, I think it might be on the last slide, but I'll give you a quick second and fill that out. You're not on a list, and I'm not going to mark it to you. I will make sure that we separate this out, but it's easier for me just to send the slides. I'll send a few other resources. Oh, and I'm also going to send you a blank version of this so you can do it with your team as well. Sorry, I'll get out of the way. Got that. 5, 4, 3. And if it doesn't work, just give me a business card and I'll put you on that list. All right. And finally, if you like what you saw here today, feel free to, it's a joke. It's a joke. So appreciate the time. You guys have made the right choice to be a part of this great organization. Drink it up with a spoon. And I appreciate your time and attention today. We're right on time. Thank you, friends.
All right, thank you, David. And a couple of things. So you've got the screenshot, and we will be sending that content to you. What we did today was a version of water skiing, so we kind of skimmed the surface and tried to click you in on some really salient points. This will allow you to scuba dive, and thanks to the generosity of Eric Smith and the team at Edge, I'm going to ask you to come up, Eric, and the team at Edge Electric, you're all going to get a copy of this so you can take what you heard today. You can go back to your workplace with your team, read this book, and take this even deeper to make it an application for your business. And it's because of Eric's generosity and his team's generosity that this is going to happen today. We like to profile our member companies here inside Convene, so I want to tell you a little bit about Edge Electrical Systems, who they are and what they do. So if you are looking for a professional electrical contractor in Chicagoland, Edge is the team that you want to go to because they're a Christian business owners and they're a Convene member company. They are based in Hoffman Estates, and after more than 40 years in this industry, Eric and his partners felt convicted in 2013 that they wanted to hang their own shingle and do business differently in the Chicagoland construction industry. So today they have more than 100 employees. It's an army of highly trained electricians with years of experience. They do commercial interiors, industrial warehouses, building services, design projects, low voltage systems, healthcare, and large residential projects. But more importantly, they operate with this philosophy called Merit Shop. In a union-centric, culture like Chicago, Merit Shop is very different for a couple of reasons. Merit Shop means that from a business perspective, Edge promotes open competition. They promote free enterprise and operating ethically. And then from an employment perspective, the Merit Shop philosophy means that they value pay for performance, job opportunities that are based on individual merit versus things like seniority and things like that. So that's what makes Edge unique and different. And what we love about Edge is another one of the distinctives of our Convene member owners is that they genuinely believe that they don't own their businesses, and that's true of Eric. He believes that he's just a steward of this business. His business is a gift, and he wants to take this gift and make it even better so he can honor and glorify God with his business. So I'm going to ask him, some of you are going to be leaving right away when we dismiss. Some of you are going to join us for lunch, and I want Eric to give us the privilege of praying over the meal for those of you that are staying.
Thanks, Jeff. If we could bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the ability to be able to come and listen to David and just learn more on how we can better our businesses for your glory, and just to make us better and more efficient, and just to be able to get that pulse on our as we stay and have the lunch. I pray that you bless us with the food we're about to have, and that everybody has great conversation and safe travels back. With this we pray. Amen.
And last, as we close, so David has done a brilliant job of giving us some business perspective on why it's important for us as Christian business leaders to be ridiculously easy to do business with. And as we leave, we also want to give you some biblical perspective on why it's really critical that we are committed to be ridiculously easy to do business. And here's why that matters. Number one, business is worship. So just keep in mind as you leave this room today that everything a Christian business leader does, including running a business, is an act of service to God. Making it easy for others to work with you is a form of honoring God with your excellence and your attitude. And go to Colossians 3:23 if you want more on that. So keep that in mind as you leave today. The second is this. We're called as Christians to love our neighbors even in business. So being hard to deal with, unresponsive, unclear, or difficult fails to love others well. So Christian business leaders like you and me are called to put others' interests first. Go to Philippians 2:4 and create an experience that's fair, respectful, and gracious. And then last, integrity builds trust. So as you leave here today and you think about how you and your team can become ridiculously easy to do business with, being easy to do business with and communicating honestly, consistently, and dependently are all traits that reflect Jesus Christ. Integrity in business is not just good business practice. For us, it's a biblical command, and you can go to Proverbs 22:1 if you want to learn more about that. So thank you for spending your day with us. We hope you've been blessed by this opportunity. For those of you that are joining us for lunch, you're going to leave the foyer and you're going to turn right and it's waiting for you. For those of you that need to leave, you're going to leave the foyer. You're going to turn left. And I'd request that everyone that leaves make sure to stop by and say hello to our friends at Helping Hands Charitable and our friends at NCF Chicago. Thank you again and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.